Love is an emotion, complex as it is. I just cannot narrow it down to one or two things. But what about the love for something that doesn't exist? Or rather, someone that doesn't exist? Loving a character goes beyond just liking their design or role in a story. It's about connecting with who they are, their struggles, growth, and the way they make you feel. You see their flaws, their strength, and everything in between. And then, just then, you start to resonate with them on a deeper level. And I love a character. What's a hero? A hero is someone who steps up when the odds are against them, often sacrificing their own comfort or safety for the sake of others. It's not always about being powerful or insanely gifted. It's about courage, selflessness, and standing for something greater than themselves. Heroes aren't necessarily perfect. They have their flaws, doubts, and fears. But what sets them apart is their ability to push through those challenges in order to make a difference. Whether they're saving the world or just one person, a hero's actions exist to inspire others to be better. Much like Himmel the hero in Frieren. I'd love to speak more about Himmel in detail, but I believe that one deserves its own video in another date. Subaru is a hero, Rem's hero, Emilia's hero, Rezero's hero, my hero. What makes a good character? A lot of you might say great writing, relatability, depth, and complexity. But trust me, that's not exactly everything. A character can be good even without great writing. Hello, have you met Kageno?
I need more power.
It's also not a necessity to have a cool backstory, as long as they are entertaining or enjoyable. For me at least, that makes them good. But what about exceptional characters? The ones you don't see in a trash brain rot Isekai anime. The type of characters that have an impact on you, even change you. These characters don't just entertain, they inspire. And Natsuki Subaru is one of them. I'm going to break down Subaru's character here for you. Might be a little long, please bear with me. Focus. But first, who's Natsuki Subaru? He's an ordinary 17-year-old kid who got isekai. But I wish that was just it. He consistently gets thrown into mind-fucking situations, each one more twisted than the one before it. Over and over and over and over again. His struggles are messy and real, making his victories all the more satisfying. Subaru isn't exceptional because he's flawless. Rather, he's exceptional because he's flawed. Subaru always struggled with self-worth. He was the class clown, always trying to stand out by making others laugh. Schoolwork and sports? He used to be good at those, but somewhere along the line, he stopped being the best. What once came naturally to him slipped away, and he started feeling like his efforts didn't matter. So instead of excelling, he turned to being the funny guy, always chasing bigger and crazier stunts to stay relevant. But the pressure to keep everyone entertained wore on him. The more he tried to stand out, the more he felt like he was losing himself. And then when he finally looked around, Subaru realized that no one was paying attention anymore. He wasn't special. This realization hit him hard, and instead of continuing to seek attention, he faded into the background, trying not to stand out, and he continued like that up to high school. But then things got worse. He isolated himself, stopped going to school, shut himself off from the world. He didn't want to face his failures because he felt like he had nothing to offer. Then he got isekai, second chance, a new life, a new Subaru, or at least that's what he wanted. Subaru doesn't really face his character and his own flaws until episode 18. Death after death, each one more painful than the one before it. Whenever a light appeared, it disappeared even faster, completely breaking him, making him want to give up, basically showing him that it's impossible, leading him to a complete breakdown.
力なんてないのに望みは高くて、知恵もないくせに夢ばかり見てて、できることなんてないのに無駄にあがいて、俺が大嫌いだよ。
Why doesn't he give up? It's a question I have asked myself many times. After all, it's easier to give up, right? To leave everything behind in closed doors.
諦めるのは簡単です。
諦めるのは簡単？
スバル君。
ふざけるな！諦めるのが簡単なわけねえだろうが！
He's right. No, like, genuinely, he's right. There is nothing easy about giving up. It's not as simple as walking away and leaving your troubles behind. Giving up means facing the reality that you're leaving your dreams, your hopes, and your values behind. It's about confronting the fact that the struggle you're running away from is one you'll carry with you forever. To Ram, Subaru is much more than the self-doubting, reckless person he sees in himself. She makes it clear just how much she admires and loves him, seeing past his flaws and mistakes. From her perspective, Subaru is someone who never gives up, no matter how many times he falls or how heavy the burden he carries becomes. She sees his struggles and understands the weight he bears, especially since she's been through her own traumas. Yet, what stands out to her is Subaru's heart, the way he fights, despite feeling broken and lost.
M は知っています。スバル君がどんなに先の見えない暗闇の中でも手を伸ばしてくれる勇気がある人だってこと。スバル君に頭を撫でられるのが好きです。スバル君の声が好きです。スバル君の目が好きです。
Rem believes in his potential. She knows his heart better than anyone. In her eyes, he's already a hero, not because of any grand power or achievements, but because of his kindness, his willingness to protect others, and his ability to stand back up after each failure.
好きです。嫌いだってそういうのなら、スバル君のいいところがこんなにあるって、M が知っていることを知ってほしくなったんです。君のことをスバル君がどれだけ知っているんですか？だって、スバル君はレムの英雄なんです。
Rem's love for Subaru is rooted in understanding and acceptance. She doesn't love him for being perfect or for always making the right decisions. She loves him because he's flawed, human, and tries his hardest regardless of his own fears and insecurities. Rem not only expresses her love for Subaru but also offers something he desperately needed: validation. She sees his worth even when he can't see it himself.
レムは信じています。辛く苦しいことがあって、スバル君が負けそうになってしまっても、誰もスバル君を信じなくなって、スバル君自身も自分のことが信じられなくなったとしても、レムは信じています。
For Rem, Subaru is the light in her life, the one who gave her a reason to dream of a future she never thought she could have. Her love and faith in him serve as a turning point, helping Subaru to see himself through her eyes. A man who, despite all his flaws, is capable of greatness simply by continuing to try.
もう救ってくれたスバル君が本物の英雄なんだって。
俺は俺が大嫌いだ。
レムはスバル君を愛しています。一人で歩くのが大変ならレムが支えます。荷物を分け合ってお互いに支え合いながら歩こう。
In this episode, Subaru turns from a heartbroken individual into a promising hero, full of motivation and desire, going from
俺は最低だ。俺は俺が大嫌いだよ。
to
特等席で。お前の惚れた男が最高にかっこいいヒーローになるんだってところ。
Some of the hate Subaru receives is very stupid, as it comes from the idea that Subaru is pathetic and weak. He experienced pain, fear, desperation, and overwhelming self-doubt. Yet that means pathetic to you? But he's a crybaby. No shit he cries. No shit he's scared. He's a 17-year-old kid who's faced the most traumatic things anyone can ever face. He has experienced more pain than you could ever imagine. God has given you a gift of intelligence. You're not like animals. So please just think for a second. Please, for once, use your fucking brain. People in real life get PTSD from much less, yet Subaru is capable of mentally coming back over and over again. But since you think you can be much better, I want to ask you, what would you do if thousands upon thousands of rabbits were eating you alive from the inside out, consistently multiplying inside of you, devouring your flesh, or witnessing everyone you love and care about die over and over again in the most painful ways possible? I mean, of course, it hurts him. Yet despite all that, like I said previously, Subaru still comes back. No matter how traumatic, how painful, how frustrating, he always comes back. Now, can you say that about yourself? Can you always come back after all that? And I just have to ask, where exactly did people come up with the idea that he's weak? Where exactly does it show that? If anything, he's strong. He's just a different type of strong. Not necessarily super strength. His strength comes from him strategically using his abilities to his advantage. There's a very little amount of characters who could actually beat Subaru. The only reason Subaru looks weak is due to the fact that he's surrounded by people who are much more powerful than him. Other than Reinhardt or Satella, I cannot think of another character that would be too much trouble for Subaru to kill. So to those haters, I just want to ask, where did you get the nerve? What exactly made you so confident when you are so sheltered? What made you think if you had the ability to return by death, you'd be so much better? This isn't some edgy or powerful TV series. It's realistic, it's painful, it's twisted. Who and what you think he should be doesn't matter. In the end, Natsuki Subaru is not made to please you. He's not a self-insert or a reflection of yourself. He exists as his own complex character, independent of your expectations. So please, humble yourself. And if everything I said still didn't change your mind, I genuinely don't believe anything will. So please, stay willfully blind until you slumber. You can literally see how lonely Subaru is, being unable to tell anyone about his ability to return by death. The weight of that secret isolates him from everyone around him. Every time he dies and comes back, he's forced to carry the trauma of his experiences alone, unable to share the burden or ask for help. This loneliness eats away at him, breaking him down piece by piece. There's a scene where he desperately tries to tell Emilia the truth.
いっそ全部話してやる。俺は死に戻りして。
only to be physically stopped and just forced to die. That reminds him how utterly trapped he is in his situation. It's heartbreaking because no matter how much Subaru wants to be honest, the curse prevents him from reaching out to anyone, making his suffering all the more unbearable. The first time he's able to express the pain is with Echidna. During the tea party in the dream world, when Subaru breaks down and tells her about his ability.
死に戻り死に戻り死に戻り死に戻り
落ち着きなよ。君の気持ちはわかるけど。
俺は死に戻りしてたんだ。何度も死にやり直して死に戻りして何度もやり直してたんだ。ずっとこっちに来てからずっと誰にも言えず何度も一人で
You can see just how much of a toll it's taken on him. He's been carrying this massive burden, feeling like no one could possibly understand him. But for the first time, someone listens. Echidna isn't shocked at all. Rather, she's fascinated.
わかってる。君がこれまで何を思い、どう感じて、どれほど抱えてきたか。 それを知りたい。だって僕はこの世のすべてを知りたいと欲する強欲の魔女エキドナだからね。
And even though her motivations aren't exactly pure, that moment of being able to share his deepest secret brings Subaru a strange kind of relief. Strange enough that he's willing to do stupid shit like this.
随分と勇敢だね。魔女が差し出したものを一息。言ってしまえば僕の体液。おまけに僕の体液をそんなに一気に。
忘れてた。
Now me personally, that would go way different. But this little tea party isn't as simple as you think. It's an encounter with the witches that forces Subaru to confront his deepest fears and flaws. Each of the witches challenge him in a different way. For example, Typhon, the Witch of Pride, forces him to confront the guilt he feels over the lives he couldn't save. Minerva, the Witch of Wrath, tries to heal his physical pain, but that can't reach the deeper emotional wounds he carries. And then there's Satella, the Witch of Envy, whose love for Subaru is twisted and overwhelmed. Her appearance at the tea party is one of the most chilling moments in the entire series, as she represents everything Subaru fears, an all-consuming love that threatens to devour him. Yet, in that same encounter, Satella reveals something important.
傷つかないで、苦しまないで、悲しい顔しないで、もっとあなたを愛して、もっと自分を大切にして。どうして気づかないの？あなたが救いたいと願うすべての中には、あなたもいるべきだって当たり前のことに。
That Subaru needs to love himself, even if the world around him falls apart. After all, how could he save others if he can't save himself? He should be among those whom he wants to save, after all. The deep bonds he's formed with those around him, especially Emilia, are the main reason for Subaru's motivation. From the moment he met her, Subaru has been drawn to her kindness, her strength, her struggles, her Sorry, perhaps that was just me. She's someone who, like him, carries the weight of others' expectations. Subaru sees someone worth fighting for, a person who deserves happiness, and he's willing to sacrifice everything to help her achieve it. But it's not just about Emilia. Subaru's connection to others like Rem, who loves him unconditionally and sees his worth even when he doesn't, as well as Beatrice. She was very lonely at the start. She spent centuries waiting for someone who might never come. What makes Subaru's relationship with Beatrice so powerful is how he gradually breaks through her walls. He sees beyond her cold demeanor, recognizing the loneliness and pain she tries so hard to hide. Subaru doesn't just want to save Beatrice out of obligation. He wants to reach her on a personal level. He wants her to see that she's more than just a tool of fate or a guardian of the Forbidden Library. She's someone who deserves love, happiness, and the freedom to choose her own path. Just like Beatrice, Subaru often feels trapped by the weight of his failures and insecurities, but in pushing through his own darkness, he finds the strength to pull Beatrice out of hers.
俺はお前と一緒にいてやりたいよ、ベアトリス。優しいお前が悲しくないように。俺はお前と明日手をつないでいてやれる。明日も明後日もその次の日も永遠を一緒には無理でも明日を今をお前を大事にしてやれる。ベアトリス、俺を選べ。誰かに外に連れ出してほしいから。お前はいつも扉の前に座ってたんじゃないのか。
Subaru's love is messy, selfless, and sometimes irrational, but it's the thing that drives him to keep standing up no matter how many times he falls. It's not just love for Emilia, but for everyone who has touched his heart. Their relationship is built on mutual healing. Subaru helps Beatrice find her purpose again, and in doing so, she helps him realize that no one should carry the weight of the world alone. Remember how earlier I talked about Subaru's backstory? Well, going to a new world was basically like an escape from all that. But in this one arc, aka Subaru's trial in the sanctuary, he's forced to confront unresolved emotions and regrets. It's like a dream world. When Subaru wakes up, he finds himself in a classroom, surrounded by familiar faces, pretty similar yet not exactly the same thing. because it's a twisted version of his real life. This setting is basically his school before he got isekai. This trial is specifically designed to force Subaru to confront the emotional baggage he's been avoiding, his guilt, his habit of running away from his problems, especially in relation to his past life, his regrets about how he handled his relationships with his parents. He felt like a failure in their eyes and in his own. This setting is particularly painful for Subaru, as it highlights how he shut himself off from the world, skipping school, isolating himself from the people who cared about him. Ikenda's trial digs deep into these memories, pushing Subaru to face the part of himself that felt unworthy and alone. In the process, he's forced to acknowledge the unconditional love his parents had for him. Despite his feelings of failure and worthlessness, his mother's kindness and his father's playful yet encouraging attitude helps Subaru realize that his parents didn't love him because of his accomplishments or successes. They loved him because he was their son.
お母さんだってスバルのこと見てるんだよ。どうにかしてあげられるんならしてあげたんだけどね。
俺はちゃんとできてるかな。俺はちゃんとあの人の子供やれてるかな。
お父さんみたいになりたいって思いながらスバルになるんだよ。
お母さん。でもどんなとこにいても俺は二人のことを思ってるし忘れたりしないし。
スバル忘れてた。いってらっしゃい。
行ってきます。
It's a powerful moment of self-reflection, where Subaru learns that his value doesn't come from external validation or from being the center of attention. It comes from being himself. Subaru is one hell of a main character, and even after everything I've said, I don't believe I've done his character justice. I've not even read the novels. I can only imagine how far Subaru has grown as a person. I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say. If you think I've missed out on some things, which I most likely did, leave it down in the comments. Perhaps something important, perhaps not. Regardless of all that, I really love this character. I love every struggle he goes through, every tear he sheds, every moment he experiences joy, no matter how brief or small a victory may be. And I love how, despite being overwhelmed by fear, he still finds it in him to have courage to face the most monstrous, overpowered creatures. They're so odd,
おかしいですね。
mysterious,
不思議ですね。
strange,
怪しいですね。
terrifying.
怖いですね。
He's not just a character, he's a hero, an inspiration, and my personal favorite isekai protagonist. Even though many won't agree with that, you say biased, I say based. We're not the same, and I didn't even mention any of the if roots. That would just need a whole video by itself. And if by the end of this video I've managed to make you like Subaru a bit more, or even understand him just a little better, enough for you to say something along the lines of, "You're an amazing guy, Natsuki Subaru," then that's all I've ever wanted.
Don't be in love.